Hello and welcome to another episode of Not Too Deep. I'm your host, Grace Helbig. I'm so excited for you guys to listen or watch this episode. We are talking to Danny Casale. You probably know him as Coolman Coffeedan. He makes these incredibly sweet, uplifting, joyful, and beautiful, crude little animations. Not little animations, they're major, but they're little, but they're big. You'll see if you don't already know. On YouTube, on TikTok, on his Instagram. He's blown up recently, and he's got a new book out called Your Special Advice for Humans. It's a beautiful animation book / self-help for people of all ages. He's just so delightful to talk to. We talk about how he made his first YouTube channel at 12 years old. He was at the first VidCon, and he gives great advice on building a brand online, following your heart, following your art, resisting burnout, taking care of yourself. So many great little nuggets of wisdom throughout this episode. And we get to hear about a disaster that happened at the Natural History Museum. It's all here for you on this episode of Not Too Deep with Coolman Coffeedan. Are you drinking a Red Bull?
Yeah, I didn't have time to get iced coffee.
You never
went to
have
Dwayne
to.
Reed.
You don't have to make any excuses. I love Red Bull. I'm drinking coffee, but because I'm out of Red Bull. But isn't it crazy that everyone thinks it's like so shameful?
I listen. I'm still on the fence. Just because I'm putting it in my body, I'm still on the fence here. Sometimes it gives me that weird heart.
Yeah.
Like skip, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I like that. It tastes great. It tastes like candy.
It tastes like candy, and sometimes it tastes like liquid, like how I imagine nickels would taste if they were melted down into liquids.
The best currency, the nickel taste.
Oh,
yeah.
The underappreciated coin.
I definitely feel like if we get a little bit of the Red Bull branding going, and we say like, hey, like tastes like nickels,
yes,
energizes you. That's where it should be. That's where it should be going.
Exactly. That's some sort of element that I guess we all need in our bodies. Anyway,
right.
Danny, enough small talk. Let's get into big talk. I'm so excited to talk to you, and also just see your face, because I don't think many people often see your face. You do a great job of not posting that out there in the world so much these days. Now, I want to know, because you are multifaceted, how do you describe the work that you do?
For sure. The thing that really gets me stoked about being an artist and like putting my face like last, my art speaks first and the characters kind of speak for themselves. Yeah. That's kind of a testament to how powerful these characters end up being to so many people around the world. And it's like, okay, dope. Like my main character is this naked, cat thing who like kind of dances around, and he preaches, his main saying is "you're special," which people need to be reminded of. I have another character who's just a blue blob. His name is Blue Dude. He reminds you of the little happiness, the things that we might miss in the day to day that bring us so much joy, the smell of bakeries and stuff. So all these characters in my animated universe represent me and the different sides of me. Sometimes I feel blue, sometimes I feel a little more uppity and special, but these characters for so many people around the world, kind of regardless of like culture and language, is a source of like happiness and joy. And I'm like, okay, wasn't the plan. This all happened by accident, but I'm happy that this is where it all ended up.
So this wasn't the plan. You say this all happened by accident. I'm so curious as to how that developed, because in doing a bunch of research about you, you started your YouTube channel when you were 12.
Yeah.
Who let you do that?
I've been on YouTube since 11 or 12.
Okay.
I was doing domino toppling videos
Perfect.
In my parents' basement. I got up to 500 subscribers back in the day. That's big.
Incredible. And also, what a sweet niche as a preteen.
I know. I remember walking around the hallways of 5th grade and just being like, none of these people know that I have 500 subscribers on YouTube. And it was a special feeling, because nobody knew or cared what YouTube
Yeah.
was back then. I mean, you know this. I'm preaching to the choir. Like you're an YouTube OG. Like you've been doing. Were you at the
Yeah.
first VidCon by chance?
I was not. I bought a ticket for the second VidCon. I remember watching videos of people speaking at the first VidCon and like wanting in on that community because I felt
Yeah.
like such a like outsider in like community based activities and
Right.
seeing that this was like a sweet world of people just trying to figure out how to express themselves without judgment and with only encouragement.
Right.
But you start at 12, you're making these domino videos, and then you start getting into some stuff where if you go back in time, you look like the third member of Smosh. And you're
Hell yeah. All right. I'll take it. Yeah. I get that. I got that a lot. Third member of Smosh, but they're like good looking guys. Like,
yeah, they speak to the era and the genre of what was happening on YouTube at the time. But you were making videos that were, you can see like your comedy start to develop. You can see the things that start to inspire you. But then is it 2017 is when you have like this big viral hit that kind of changes everything for you?
That was the beginning of the whole animation sort of chapter in my life. And it was a video called Snakes Have Legs, which I really didn't plan to blow up to the degree that it did. But to date, that's my most viral video. Like, like hundreds of millions of views, or like every corner of the internet, repost after repost during like the most politically charged summer of my life, and it was a sort of pseudo political comedy piece on like fake news and why you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet, and how the internet is an amazing tool that can be used for amazing things. Like you said about the, VidCon. I was at the first VidCon, by the way. I was 14 years old.
Again, who's letting you do all of this?
I have really cool parents. But, it was kind of like, I guess, an accumulation of, I've been trying to go viral for about 10 years at that point. Never really happened. I had really core audiences, but this video struck a chord with so many people around the world because they all could relate to it. Like it wasn't even humans acting in the video. It was colorful, cartoon, blobby characters. And then that's when I saw like, okay, that was wild. What would happen if I made another animation? And that one did really well as well. And that's when I kind of realized like, okay, I think this is what I'm doing now.
Interesting. So because when you look now in 2021 at all of the work you're doing, like you said, there's this undertone of positivity, of self-care, of, just uplifting in very simple and not necessarily preachy terms. Was there a point where you made that a conscious decision to infuse your artwork with that sort of messaging?
So it wasn't until a few months later. The Snakes Have Legs video is what made me realize that this could resonate with millions and millions and millions of people. And meanwhile, I was making this in my bedroom, I was living with 5 other dudes in a small apartment in Brooklyn, New York, like just super lo-fi type. It wasn't even truly animating. I was like drawing on index cards with like a Sharpie, and then like taking a photo of that on my phone, sending it to my computer, then like masking it out in Final Cut Pro, and like definitely not animate the way it should be done. Like people would ask me like, how do you animate? I'm like, you don't want to know. Like you should not do what I do at all. It's horrible. But it, forced this unique style that I guess people really liked. And it wasn't until a few months later where I had like maybe 50,000 followers on Instagram and a little bit of an audience there that have been following my stuff for the past few months. And I was still going to college. I had like class later that day. And I remember this was the morning after the Las Vegas shootings in 2017.
Okay.
And I was super rocked by that. I was like, this is spooky, such a horrible feeling that, a nation goes through when something like that happens. And I was at the gym, on the treadmill. I just remember all the TV screens just playing over and over again, like the coverage of the event. Oh my God, the tragedy, so horrible. And I was like, I feel like I have to say something. Like it was the first time I had an audience. I say it was like that first Spider-Man moment for me where I was like, I have some power here. Let me use this for good. It's like
Yeah.
responsibility. So let me do something here. So I went home. I had this like blue blob character in my head, the blue dude.
Yeah.
And I just made this video about, hey, like, here's a thought. Even though a lot of bad things happen in the world and there's bad people, it means the world is it doesn't mean the world's all bad. It means the world is mostly good. And we forget about that sometimes. And he talks about the reminders, the simple reminders, the first taste of watermelon in the summertime, smiling babies, the smell of bakeries, that feeling when your crush says your name.
Yeah.
All those little things that we kind of overlook and we forget about, and we focus on the tragedy because that's just what the news cycle does, unfortunately. But look at all the beautiful little things. Look at all the happiness that surrounds you. I end up missing class because I needed to get this video out there.
Yeah.
And thank God I did, because when I posted that, it immediately, it went to that like astronomical sort of level and reach where you could tell a lot of people were starving to hear that.
Yeah.
And it even bumped to just like the outer layer that I wasn't prepared for, where people who maybe were outside of America and maybe not informed about what happened at the time were applying it to their own situations, whether they just got broken up, they just got cheated on or something,
Right.
or there's a bully at school. And they were like, my God, look at this beautiful, simple little creature reminded me like, hey, bad things do happen. That's a fact. That's a very realistic fact.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about all the little beautiful things that happen day to day to remind us that the world is mostly good. That's when I realized like, okay, this whole animation thing is bigger than I think I realized. This has this mental health aspect to it now, where so many people can come and hang out with my characters and get what maybe they don't get from other people in their lives. Those little reminders that they're special, they're loved, the world is good. Unfortunately, some people don't have those people. And for a lot of people around the world, these characters is that somebody. So I'm very thankful that it kind of just rolled with the punches and it ended up coming out that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly beautiful. And like you said, totally necessary. And sometimes people don't realize they don't have that in their life until they hear it and they realize that that's been missing. Now, you develop these characters. How do you develop them? And are there characters that never made the cut?
That's an interesting question. I feel like
Because they're also like amorphous but also specific at the same time. So I'm curious if you're like just looking at animals and drawing them and being like, which one speaks to you?
Yeah, one could argue that the years and years of my notebook doodles in school, middle school, high school, college, like those are all the scrapped characters that never came to be, because I really would just doodle, and like it became a necessity part of my day, especially in class, because I'm just, Red Bull, coffee. I'm a tired guy. I'm just sleepy all the time. Like, so they became like, I would just freehand stuff, and it would keep me awake and engaged. And I think it probably helped me listen a little bit too. But the whole idea of like, do I sit down and come up with a character? I don't think I do. I think it's like, I just like, sometimes it comes to me like with Blue Dude, like I just saw this blue blobby figure in my head. And I was like, it'd be cool to explore this a little bit. The first video ever that blew up Snakes Have Legs, I just saw this like snake with a pink background in my head. That was before I even had a narrative or a punchline. I was just like, let me sketch this cute little snake out with a pink background. The narrative always came later. And I think it's just like that doodle mentality where you just don't know what's, the plan is until your hand hits the paper.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of artists can maybe relate, because you just freehand that shit and you like see where it goes.
Follow your intuition.
In many ways, intuition. Yeah. It's just in many ways, that's like the most authentic way to come up with a character, because it's just like that direct stream of consciousness,
Totally. And the interesting thing about it too is that, like you said, it started very lo-fi in the beginning, and now you've built a successful business off of this. I'm curious, at what point did you realize, like, okay, there's something here. I should get a little professional about this and not just kind of wait around for inspiration to strike and then just throw up a banana peel being hilarious every now and then. Like, at what point did you make a concerted effort to run a business in this world?
I feel like a week ago.
Okay.
I feel like I'm constantly like, what's happening?
I'm picking your brain. I'm like, give me all your tips. You seem like you've got it figured out, and I need some help right now.
I don't know. I definitely don't. I am rolling with the dang punches. Like I can't, like I'm waking up every morning like, how is this happening? I'm not entirely sure what's on my to-do list today. I got a call with like Penguin Publishers for a book. What? Like, none of it makes sense.
Right.
But I'm happy it's happening. I always thought that my art would somehow bring itself to a goal. I kind of was just standing by the sidelines. I always knew that maybe if I kept drawing characters and kept having fun with art and just creating and getting these ideas down on paper and making, videos, I always felt like they would find their home and find a path. I really didn't have a clear-cut goal. I didn't know this would turn into like this cartoon universe where there's this main cast of characters that so many people love, and there's this book coming. Like, I didn't have that master plan. I wish I'm no genius. I kind of just got lucky.
I think that's actually really refreshing for people to hear, that like creating these characters, you're still following your intuition on where your career leads you and saying yes to the opportunities and not sitting behind the scenes with this like 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan situation and making sure everything hits every single goal that you have.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's angles to stay organized. Like I would have like a 1 year plan or like a 5 year plan. Like, here's where I don't want to be for sure. Yeah. Like in 5 years, I ideally want to be like living on my own and like being able to pay my bills with art.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the small goals that I guess seem small in retrospect, it's like the first bill that I was able to pay with, my Instagram video, my animations was huge. And now so many years later, that seems like a small thing, but it was huge when it happened.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the validation along the way. I love keeping organized with like just writing day-to-day to-do lists. Like, hey, like here's everything I should really get done today. The feeling of crossing it out on physical paper, that means a lot to me. That helps me.
Such joy.
It's not the same. You can't like the tap on like the calendar on your phone. It's not the same satisfaction level. But also I always thought like having that little bit of like business intuition mixed in with the art really, really helps. I'm very fortunate that, my parents are very business savvy, and they were like, hey, helpful. Like, don't like put all your eggs into one basket. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to go like be a painter. And they're like, well, okay, that's great. But like, do a little bit of that, do a little bit of this. They look out for you. They want to like really like make sure you're not a starving artist.
Yeah.
But also along the way, I found out like, hey, maybe I could be a painter. And now I am a painter. I have a lot of paintings floating around the fine art market right now.
Cool.
But it was like really just kind of like getting one goal and then reassessing and being like, hey, if I did that, if I was able to pay that first rent bill with my work, with my creativity, what could I do next? Like, could I maybe get 1 million followers? Could I maybe like start writing what a book could be? Could I maybe like collab with Diplo? Like all these things happen,
These are what every artist has as the top 3 on their list.
Yeah. I was just like, what, like, how far does this go? Like, how much fun could I have with this? And it continues to get weirder and wilder. And I feel like that's the story for a lot of creators. It's just like the bar keeps rising and you just kind of keep going with it.
It seems like the way you're describing it is like how I imagine painting a picture is that you add strokes, and then you step back and you look at the whole thing. and you say like, what is this turning into? And then you touch it up appropriately, and then you step back and you look at it again until it forms into something, closer to whatever goal it is that you have for it.
It's like very Bob Ross. It's like no happy accidents.
Yeah.
No
only
mistakes.
Happy accidents.
Yeah. I should have prepared for that quote if I was going to drop it.
No, you're saying the way you are misquoting it is itself representative of the quote.
Yes. That's a happy mistake right there. Wow. Well, he would have been proud.
Okay, we're gonna let everyone marinate on that quote for a second. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, I have guess what, a million more questions for you. So we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Cool.
Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Hello, listeners. Grace Helbig here, wanting to say two things. A big thank you for listening to the podcast. If you're a regular listener, if this is your first time listening, welcome and thank you. And second thing, if you are enjoying yourself here in this not too deep world we've built and you'd like to leave us a review, that would be so wonderful. If you can go to the iTunes store, the App Store, and leave us a lovely little review, comment. How are you feeling? Good, bad, otherwise? Maybe just good or otherwise would be appreciated. Other than that, enjoy the podcast.
I'm entering my late 20s, so I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do.
That's it. It sounds like you've never known what to do. So you're on track.
We're winging it. We're really winging it out here. But
late
26
20s
is a weird age. I don't know. It's like nothing. It's just nothing.
It's you can already rent a car. All of the major milestones have been hit. The next one's 30, I guess, which really doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. That's the energy, I guess.
Like it only gets better.
But yeah, no, people just say you stop giving a shit at 30. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So
give all of your shits now in the 20s.
Right.
Run your anxiety meter backwards, forwards, up, down, sideways.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, really indulge in the depression, peak with the anxiety, high highs, low lows. And then in the 30s, you'll kind of middle ground a little bit.
That's what the Red Bull's for. That's
exactly.
Peaking the anxieties. That's Red Bull's slogan, I believe.
Truly.
Take another sip, speaking of which.
Would you like to feel something, even if it's pure panic? Drink Red Bull.
Just pure unwanted adrenaline at 9 p.m.
On that note, actually, question for you. Because now that you're like a very successful business brand, etc., and you're working now with other brands, I'm always so curious about how content creators approach working with brands. Do you have like a system in place, or like a checklist that you keep in mind, or like goal brands that you'd love to work with, or do you just kind of vet them as they come through of what makes sense for you?
Yeah, they've been relatively inbound the past few years. They'll hit me up. And big one being Samsung. Worked with them a ton, have done some really cool things with them. Did some really cool stuff. I did a whole original series with Wix, where I pitched them this idea that they loved. It was a 4-part series where these aliens crash land to Earth, as they do.
Classic.
And their ship is broken, their spaceship. So they kind of hole up in this barn on this random farm to create a plan. They end up saying, hey, we're going to start a rock band to raise the funds and fix our ship so we can go home. So they start like a Wix website and they market themselves. And it was
fun.
A super like authentic, organic sort of integration. Where people were like, this is the best ad I've ever watched. And it was just like these blobby aliens, like, just using a computer, and like they put a Craigslist ad for a bandmate who ended up being this like middle-aged human who just like joined along, and he was the drummer.
Perfect.
So like cool opportunities like that do come along, and I got my manager and I got my my whole
team,
representation team are really great people, and they know that the art and the creativity is first. So there's no sacrificing or like like having to like put like art over here and make sure like the brand logo is like slapped. It's like, no, like the art is what speaks. It's why we're here. So like let's make sure it's there. So I'm really grateful that I have those sort of people that know that, you know.
That's important, especially because the brand that you've built, the authenticity behind it is the voice and the messaging and the characters and literally the art. So to sacrifice any element of that, people would be like, he's sold out. What's he doing?
Exactly. And you'll get the sellout thing regardless. People like to say like, hey, like, oh my God, like there he is. He's drawing on a Samsung tablet. Like, oh my God, it's like, dude, like I'm literally drawing my characters on this piece of technology that just so happens to be Samsung, because they're like really excited about working with me. And I'm excited about working with, like, people will always judge. And it's like, I think a lot of creators are scared to do that type of stuff because there's always going to be those types of people out there. But as long as you're staying true to yourself, I think that's the golden ticket, you know?
Totally. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the book that's coming out, your special advice for humans. How, first of all, you kind of mentioned before, oh, look at that beautiful book.
I just got it. Yeah, it
looks, I've seen your videos of you like flipping through it. It looks like an actual piece of art itself. What was the like translation into a book form from these characters and these, you know, animations that you made? Like what can people expect from this book?
I always thought my characters would perform really well in print, you know, like slapped on a page. One look at like my Instagram feed or my TikTok feed, you'll see like it's a bunch of bright pastel colors, easy on the eyes, and simple characters, thick lines, you know, like simple expressions, two eyes and a mouth. Like I always thought like this would be really cool to kind of express some of these stories and emotions that we're exploring in these videos in a book, because the attention span on, you know, those sorts of platforms are shorter. So you do have like, I always played in that 60-30 second sort of range, which caps it off. You know, you got to like think of that punchline or that story that kind of you could fit in there. With a book, this is 12 chapters of hanging out with these characters and really getting to know them a little better and kind of diving into the world a little more. Right at the very start of the book, the naked main cat character, short for special, he's like, hey, thanks for picking me up off the bookshelf. It gets really lonely up there. And it's quite literally him like talking to the reader. And then he kind of goes along and takes you throughout this journey through the woods where he bumps into other creatures. And one is like a self-conscious turtle. Another is a robot who lost his arms. And it's like, we unpack these lessons with these characters. You can't do that in a 60-second video. You can't even do that in like a 10-minute YouTube video. You got to like sit down, snug up, you know, get real comfy, hot cocoa type vibes, and enjoy like this weird ass adventure with a bunch of cute, cuddly characters, and hopefully learn a few things along the way. That was what got me excited when I'm like, you know, exploring the book category.
Yeah, it seems like it's a book for adults and kids.
100%. 100%. Yeah, you can't put an age on like, you know, learning shit. Like
it's true. Or like feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, like the whole like you don't want to like it's bright, colorful characters, of course. And a 7-year-old will be able to flip through the pages and have a great time and have a few laughs. But so will a 37-year-old, so will a 77-year-old.
Cool.
There's a whole chapter that covers like a deep concept around loss, like death, where the robot who misplaced his arms is very sad because he had so many good memories with those arms. Yeah. And the characters talk him through that emotion. And they're like, hey, like take the time to grieve for sure, but also make sure you celebrate those memories that you had with your arms. He's talking about how his arms were like master chefs and they always told really good stories. And there's a bunch of funny visuals around that of the flashbacks. But that's the lesson that's driven home in that chapter is make sure you celebrate the memories of that loved one that you lost. Because if you don't, it's like, hey, like you wouldn't have gotten that chance to love at all. You should celebrate that you were able to do that. So And then like the chapter after that is a whole chapter about like the right way to make a bowl of cereal. It's bowl first, then cereal, then milk. And if you do it any other way, you're a psychopath. So,
Great. So it balances out. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's not just consistently deeply profound the entire time.
It's a little bit of everything. And like the kids that pick it up and look at the robot, they may not get that sort of deeper meaning. Maybe they will if their like parent explains it. But it's meant to be at face value. You go as deep as you want to go into it. You know what I mean? I think that's the fun part.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I have to get into I have 2 questions I ask every single guest that is on the podcast. So we're going to get into those. The first is, who, alive or dead, would you most like to throw cold spaghetti at?
Wow, cold spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. That's a good icebreaker.
Yeah, it's people with this question go sometimes incredibly deep, sometimes not deep at all.
I have a really big crush on Sofia Vergara.
Okay.
I feel like if I did that, she would like appreciate my confidence, and it might be a good conversation starter. And how funny would it be for us to tell our children that's how we met? Like this random guy just comes up to mom, throws
physically assaulted
spaghetti.
her.
well, it's not hot spaghetti. Let's not
Right.
get ahead of ourselves. It's cold spaghetti, which is a very important detail.
Yes, absolutely.
So it could be viewed as just. Yeah, no, that's straight up assault.
But who knows? Maybe that's her love language. You never know unless you try.
It works because I'm Italian. Maybe that's how we express our love. You just throw spaghetti.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay, the other question I ask every single guest is to tell us your worst pants shitting story, or like a bathroom,
Holy shit.
or like a bathroom emergency situation. However, you can only use 3 words or small phrases to describe the situation. So, for example, mine is college, jogging, front lawn.
I see how this game works. Very, you really get to know someone.
Without them having to tell the whole story.
So let's see. New York City.
Okay.
2015.
Okay.
Natural History Museum.
Yeah. Sometimes those dinosaur bones really get your bowels moving in certain ways.
There's a joke about extinct.
Yeah, there you go.
But there was no like disaster.
It was just a complicated moment.
It got scary. I was scared.
Yeah.
I was like I was like looking at the big whale and I was like, this is bad. This is scary. I gotta go.
And all it does is create more of a fever dream experience.
You're like trying to find it, and you're like asking the security guards. They're like, "Oh, it's past the cavemen," and you're like, "I don't know." Like,
what wing is that?
Yeah, and then there's like monkeys that kind of look like early humans, and you're like, "Is this the caveman?" I have no idea where I am. It's really scary. You don't know like what type of squid this is. Is this near the bathroom? Yeah,
nothing is comforting. Oh wow,
it's the worst place.
Truly, we haven't had a tale like that that I remember. But no follow-up questions. That paints enough of a picture.
That's it.
Okay, now we're going to get into the section called Deep and Hot, where I ask you a deep question that we have prepared for you and ask for your hot take on a kind of a topic that we've prepared for you. So,
great. Question 1. How do you feel about taking a shit in museums?
Yeah.
I think everyone should take it.
Why don't they turn the giant whale into bathrooms? I don't get it.
There's plenty of space there. Why not? Okay.
Deep question. Because of the type of art that you put out, it feels like you're really there for people, but who's there for you?
Very nice question. Like I said, I'm very, very close with my parents, my mom and dad.
Okay.
And they were definitely always there for me as I grew up and kind of went through the trials and tribulations that come with
Mm,
being a creative in a small town, especially being sort of the odd one out,
yeah.
feeling like I wasn't fitting in, feeling aimless in life in some parts,
Mm.
going to college and feeling very unfulfilled. Maybe this is not where I was supposed to be. It was my mom actually who suggested like, hey, what would happen if you took a year hiatus? I'm like,
Oh,
excuse
wow.
me? Like, she's like, yeah, take a year off.
Parents are
And I
allowed to
was like,
suggest that?
it was wild. Like I said, they were very, very cool parents. They want
That's
the best for
awesome.
me, but they're willing to explore. And I took that year off, and that was the year where I made my first animation that blew up.
Cool.
And so definitely my parents. I wouldn't be where I'm at without them.
Do you watch anything? Is there anything online that you like are obsessed with watching that's like a comfort watch for you? Or like
Hmm.
what, I guess, do you do anything specific for your own self-care?
Lo-fi beats to chill and relax to.
Okay.
It's such a cliche, like sort of pop culture thing right now, but it's oh my god, putting on those streams on YouTube where you're listening to
Ah,
lo-fi music. I honestly think it birthed this where I'm at in my life right now. Like I started
wow.
listening to it in like a few years ago, like 2016. I
Okay.
think when a lot of people started listening to that, and it's just like calm playlists that make it seem like everything is okay. You could listen to it
Mm,
when you're studying, you listen to it when you're sleeping, you put it on in the background. I find that music like that without lyrics, it's just instrumental.
yeah, yeah.
It really calms your brain, and you're able to almost like apply your own context onto the instrumental. It could be a happy
Mm,
song, a sad song, a determined song, and very think type of song.
yeah.
Um, that's yeah. Music in the
Okay.
background is
You call
huge
it
for me.
lo-fi beats.
Yeah, yeah,
Old
yeah. You've
lady.
never listened?
No,
You?
old
Oh my
lady
god.
Grace is asking for a recommendation. Well, I went through, and still when I'm like trying to work or concentrate or be creative or whatever it is, and I'm same that I can't listen to vocals. So I listen to Rat-a-tat a lot.
Ooh,
But like
yeah. I love Rat-a-tat.
the same like four songs of theirs on repeat, like an actual psychopath. And so I need to expand my
Whoa.
horizons a little bit.
Is it that one that goes down, down?
Yep.
I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it.
I was like, yep, that's familiar.
Yeah, no, wait, you've definitely seen Lo-Fi Girl. Like it's like a girl studying, and she's
Uh-huh.
like this, like writing on her desk, and she's wearing like a cozy sweater, and the cat is on the windowsill wagging its tail. And it's just
Yeah.
this animation that's like infinite, like looping to infinity while
Yeah.
like tracks play in the background. It's very
Mm-hmm.
cozy. It's very, very
Okay.
cozy. Highly recommend.
Good to know. All right, now hot take.
Cool.
A hot take for you on hustle culture and maintaining your own self-care, because I think, being a creator and talking to a lot of creators, working online is it's a dream. You get to kind of create your own business work life situation, but you can also get completely sucked into working 24 hours a day if you wanted to, being constantly connected and constantly, checking in on things. So what's your opinion or thoughts around hustle culture?
Yeah, what's that meme that just blew up recently where it's like, I quit my 9 to 5 so I could work 24/7. I
Mm-hmm.
beat the system. It's like
Yep.
you're no, you're just going a little crazy is what
Yeah.
you're going. But I think setting boundaries to yourself for yourself is really big.
Mm-hmm.
I think this like whole hustle mentality really came into popularity right about the time when I started like blowing up, like 2016, like
Yeah.
no days off, like,
Oh, yeah.
really, really fight for what you want. And I think there's parts of that I definitely was applying to when I was on the come up and like really like working late into the night and getting little sleep. And
Yeah.
but I'm thankful for that part of my life, but like it's not sustainable, you know,
Exactly,
especially as
yeah.
you get busier and there's just more days like that. It's cool to say like, I didn't get any sleep last night. I worked on a project and it's like a one-off sort of thing. Like maybe you do that like only once every few weeks. But if you got to do that every day, that turns into an unhealthy sort of routine that
Yeah.
just really, you can't go on too long without you sacrificing other important areas of your health and your relationships. So I think in recent years, especially this past year, because it just got so busy, like the bounce back after lockdowns,
Yeah.
I've really just had to delegate a lot. If you have the resources to do that, I finally took some big steps in getting out of my own way and
Good for
building a little
you.
bit of a team and saying like, okay, now we're able to get like 200% of the work done. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, with like not like killing yourself, like
Yeah.
not driving your work and energy into the ground, because then everything suffers. So I
Mhm.
think it really just takes like you evaluating where you're at in your career and in your journey, and like making sure everything's sort of like moving and staying healthy. And if there's anything that you think could be better, like explore like who can help you. You know, it could be your mom. Like my mom was just offering like, I really see you're busy with like emails and stuff. Like if you ever need help, like I could be your like assistant, like your mom assistant. And I
Your
was like,
mom
dang,
sounds like the greatest woman that's ever
she's on.
existed.
Catherine rocks. Catherine rocks.
We
But
love Catherine.
she offered that, and I was like, yeah, maybe it's going to be a busy like next few months. Maybe I do that. Like I don't know. We'll see. But like it's people are there to help you,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm sure they would love if you asked. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's just getting out of your own way and maybe also letting go of your ego a little bit
Yeah.
to be like, hey, I need help on this. Like I just
Oh, yeah.
can't, you know. And oftentimes from when I did that, everything falls into place once you kind of bring other people in. So
Yeah.
I think that's the balance, is just having
Huge.
helping hands.
That's a great answer. I need to take that advice. I'm writing all of this down. Okay.
I see you writing over there. I was like, dang.
Yeah, I take notes. Okay,
Nice.
we're going to take one last break. When we get back, you and I are going to work together to give a listener a little piece of advice, more than what you've already given all of us already. So
Nice.
we'll be right
Let's
back
go.
with more Not Too Deep.
Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Okay, we're back in. Danny, you and I are going to work together to see if what we can come up with in terms of, speaking of advice, for this lovely listener. They are saying that, hi, I graduated recently and live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. It's always been my plan to work in the film industry, but the pandemic kind of threw me off my original plan of attack. How would you recommend getting started in the entertainment industry now? I have created content for my personal YouTube channel for 5 years and have, of course, started creating for TikTok as well, but I just feel so lost.
Yep. I feel like there's a lot of people in that boat.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. This is always a very difficult question to answer because everyone's path to whatever they deem as successful in their mind is unique and different. So it's hard to give people advice on like, here's the blueprint of exactly how to do something.
Well, I think she's doing what she should be doing, which is taking matters into her own hands. And TikTok has been huge for so many creators. I was just out with another film school student last night, and I'm a huge fan of him. He blew up on TikTok. His name is Jake Krantz.
Okay.
He's been making the super like memeable videos where it's like when you accidentally say "you too" to the waiter, and then the waiter has to like sit down and eat with you and all that. And he's like getting like 25 million views a video. So I was with him last night, and I asked him what his story was because he really just blew up super recently, and he was like, "Dude, like this past January, here he was. He just graduated film school. He went to SVA here in the city." And he was unemployed. He was broke and he didn't have any jobs because it was still like COVID heavy back then.
Yeah.
And he started making TikTok videos. And they got some traction here and there, but it wasn't until like May, June, when it just started fucking like getting these astronomical numbers, 5 million views, 10 million views,
Wow.
25 million views. And I asking him what his goals were now, he wants to use that sort of like those numbers and the money he's going to be getting from it to fuel his short film projects and like
cool.
make some movies and write some cool shit and like get involved, use that as leverage. I'm like, dude, genius. Like you took what was a very unfortunate situation that I feel like a lot of people are in, just graduated or stuck in college, like feeling like they have nothing else to go for. And it's like COVID heavy. It's like, depending on where you're living, it's, if you're in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere, it's like, damn, like that's a whole other level of like, you feel like, maybe you're the odd one out like I did when I was living in suburbia, So I think using the internet as the incredible tool that it is to just put shit out there, just try ideas. It's the perfect time to experiment. You're like, people are like, damn, I have 0 followers. It's like, perfect, experiment. Like you have no pressure to like conform. It's like, have fun with it,
And I think also reminding yourself to connect to whatever is your core driving force for creating. Like to me, it's never going to be successful or fulfilling if you are creating for a following, if you're creating for this idea of popularity or numbers or success. Like you have to be still authentically driven by wanting to make whatever the art is that you want to make, and be okay if, not 10 million people see it. Because if it does blow up, and it does happen, like it'll happen because people know that your authenticity is behind it, that like this is something you genuinely want to make or you feel passionate about making in some capacity. I think because social media is everywhere all the time, and we're bombarded with everyone's value systems on these number and algorithm scales, that it's so easy to get distracted by thinking that you need numbers to be successful in some capacity.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people thinking they should be doing that. They look at that thing, whatever that is, and they're like, oh, it's working for this person, I'm going to do that. And it's like,
totally.
Do you like, what are your ideas? Because it's the original ideas that people are starving for. And that's what blew up with Jake. Like, there's a really good quote that I heard recently, and it's exactly what you're talking about, Grace, which is, art is the risk of embarrassment. And it's like, being creative is you risking like somebody saying something off color about it, or it only getting 3 likes or whatever. It's art is risking embarrassment. And
I think that was a Bob Ross quote too, right?
I really got to brush up because I'm just spitting Bob Ross facts
everywhere.
And I heard that quote. I was like, dang, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, we gotta spread, I guess Bob Ross already spread that around, but it's like, everybody has to know about this, dude. Yeah, no, Bob Ross said it like a while ago. But that really sums it up into words. Cause it's like, you don't want to like, make like, there's that innate feeling where it's like, I don't know if I should make it, like, but it's like, fucking make it. Like, who cares what people think, especially in the beginning? Just like, see what sticks to the wall, just put shit out there, That's what I did. And I'm so thankful that I did that. Like it all worked out, because I tried so many different things.
And the thing that you don't expect blows up and then becomes like, oh shit. Here it goes. Now's the time. So just be ready. Right. Danny, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for talking with us. Before we wrap up, we like to give all of our guests a little token of our appreciation. And that is a personalized horoscope that we have created for you. Melissa's going to put it in the chat for you if you are able to read that aloud for the class. All right, here we go. Okay. Dang. I just make the Scorpio cutoff too. I'm October 24th. So it's like right there and then. Dear Scorpio, Scorpion of the stars. Earlier this week, Mercury went direct in Libra and your privacy zone. There may be important messages in your dreams over the next month. So pay close attention.
especially if those dreams involve kissing hotties. Oh, baby, let's go. I love that. I want to get that tattooed on my back.
Oh,
Dang,
there you go.
that was good. That was good.
It's in the stars, so it must be true.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm
You're welcome.
I'm gonna hang that on my wall. I think. Let me copy that. Let me copy that before the Zoom ends.
Danny, where can people find you? Where can they get the book and everything that you're up to if they don't already know?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Coolman Coffeedan. On YouTube, Danny Casale. My book is available for pre-order right now at your special book .store. So definitely trying to increase the good vibes in the world a little bit once this book hits shelves and Barnes and Noble and stuff October 2nd. So it's all coming.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, guys. Go check out everything that he makes. It is truly just so delightful, so pleasant, so joyful, so sweet, so silly, all of the good things. This was great. I could talk to you for another 17 hours and glean so much advice from you. Next episode, your mom will be here.
We're gonna bring Catherine on. Let's go, Catherine. I'm gonna text her after this. Let's go.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time on another episode of Not Too Deep. Goodbye.
Too deep, too deep, too deep, not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Not Too Deep is a production of Grace Helbig Incorporated, producer Melissa D. Montz, edited by Shireen Lani Yunus, post-production sound by Chris Henry, and an extra special thanks to Flula for the theme music.